This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Mac, Jack, and Jim. It's Sunday Football Show. Of course, we have Mac and Jack, the elder statesmen of the sports universe, and Jim Jeffcoat, two-time Super Bowl champion. But he didn't win anything when he was up in Buffalo, and he's still calling Buffalo Jim. So, everybody.
And don't forget, a member of the 100 Sack Club.
He is a member of the 100 Sack Club. And soon to be pro golf. You know, he just got asked to join the LIV tour.
No, not LIV. Well, if the money's good.
Hey, the money's better in the LIV from what I understand.
Yeah, that's right. Mickelson is arguing that he wants to be the only left-hander there, and we're having a little bit of controversy on that.
Okay.
You know what? Just tell him to pay you off, and then you step aside.
That's right.
Because they, and then I figure that you could be the first member of the LIV Senior Tour.
There you go. That's a good idea.
Yeah. There you go. It's you carry your AARP card and just go walk around and just keep score on that.
And then we were talking about possibly me coming out to Arizona and in your charity event.
There you go. Yeah, the first annual PSG Open Invitational, where I hate to tell you this though. I ain't a golfer, so we only playing putt golf.
Oh my goodness.
However, the reason why we're even doing that is because when we go out to Arizona, there is a group of 40 guys that have already done, got a tee time and stuff like that for a charity event. But because we're bringing out 180 people and there's going to be plenty other Eagles fans out there, the PSG Invitational has arrived.
You need to have Donovan McNabb there.
Yeah.
He's in Arizona, is he not?
Yeah, he lives in Arizona.
Maybe I got to get a hold of you. Maybe you or Byron can get me a phone number. I would love to have him come out there. Yeah. Like I says, I'm a big fan. I was a fan of his. Do I think he was a Hall of Famer? I hope that nobody has to ask me that question once I'm there, because I will be honest about it. But, he was one of the best quarterbacks. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the Eagles' history.
Yeah.
And I tell you, and I find that as I look back at that 2005 Super Bowl 39, I blame more on Andy Reid than I do on Donovan McNabb. And we had that conversation last week, I think. So,
yeah.
But football has come back, even though it's only in college. And yesterday, I want to start off with this game. I don't know if you guys saw it or whatever, but yesterday there was a game that they scored 62 points in the fourth quarter. The game winds up ending 63-61, all because of the guy. It was like, I don't know if you can blame the quarterback or the receiver, just how he went after that ball, but they had that 2-point conversion. That was like an alley-oop shot, and the guy jumped a little too early and couldn't come down with the ball. Would have been 63-63, and going into overtime, we could have had it. This game could still be going on because there was absolutely no defense at all once it came to the fourth quarter.
You know who I really felt sorry for in pro football was Jackie Smith. Wide open, ball right there, drops the ball.
Okay. Yes.
Me too. I felt really bad for Tom Brady. They tried to throw him the ball in the Super Bowl and he dropped it, and of course then Nick Foles was able to catch it for a touchdown, same type of play. So I felt really bad for Tom Brady. I felt that defined his career.
Yeah, you guys accuse me of living in the past. Come on, Jackie Smith, man. That was one of the early Super Bowls, and was 50% Roger Staubach's fault for throwing it kind of a little low. But that's another thing. I want to ask you guys this. Okay, Ohio State ranked number 2 beats number 5 Notre Dame. And I'm fascinated they'd be matched up. Now, if they didn't have the college playoffs, would Notre Dame have taken that risk so early in the season? Because one loss before the college playoffs could really be devastating. It's bad as it is, but a team can survive a loss or two get into the playoffs, and still win the national championship. But would that game have even been made without the college playoffs?
I'll tell you why it would have been made. Probably not as early, but Alabama. If you ever notice, Alabama, if they lose early. They don't lose late. And that's the thing. If you get in those type of games early, then you have an opportunity to recover. But if you do it late, that's where you get in trouble.
And not only that, the fact that they lost this game as close as it was, even though it was 21-10, that is actually going to bode better for them than if they lost that in the middle of the season. 21-10.
That's exactly right.
Were you guys as unimpressed as I was with both teams? I mean, listen, Ohio State normally has, the receivers to get the job done, and I wasn't impressed with either team. Neither.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that.
I didn't think. I think that their first. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead.
I thought that the first drives went well. That they came out firing a little bit. But what I did notice in that first drive where Notre Dame scored was that Ohio State was getting way too much pressure.
Yes.
And I thought that was going to play a part in this game, and it did. Notre Dame couldn't do anything else for really the rest of the game.
Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Keith.
And then to turn around, and Ohio State got a couple of good plays. That's really all it was. It was really the 3 plays that defined this game.
I watched all those games like you did, but here's what I noticed. The really good teams still can play defense. I don't care what you say, but the really good teams, the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, they have defenses. Did you see Georgia? They mauled Oregon. I know Oregon probably is not in that caliber, but still, I mean, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that Oregon was way overrated at number 11.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of people. And why don't we talk to our college football guy about these games?
Yeah.
Oh, morning, guys.
Good morning. I know that you don't have a lot of time today because you're doing a college football show. He's got to talk about all these games coming up here. So,
well, my Sunday show starts at 8:30 now because of NFL starting. I need that extra half hour at the back end. But college football huddle is on. We'll talk about college football today, but college football huddle is Wednesday night. We'll go really in depth. And I'll tell you that the Georgia game was one of the ones that surprised me. Yes, Oregon's probably overrated. The Pac-12 itself might be overrated. But to get beat 49-3 in your major program like Oregon is an embarrassment anywhere, especially, and it proved, I don't know if it shows how weak maybe the Pac-12 and Oregon specifically are, or the fact that Georgia's going to just retool and not have to rebuild because they lost a record number of guys to the NFL last year.
That's true.
And to get to the Alabama level, you need to be able to just go from losing a bunch of guys to staying just as good. And that maybe Kirby Smart has gotten there now because that was one of the most surprising scores of the day for me.
But what would be the Georgia mentality? They are the defending national champions, and everyone's already acting like Alabama's the champions, and they're conceding the title to them.
I'm sure that type of motivation certainly doesn't hurt, and I'm sure Kirby Smart uses it to his advantage very well.
Yeah,
we're
not talking about the basketball player Smart, right?
No, Kirby Smart, the coach.
The head coach. But the thing with Georgia, demographically, they're in a perfect area because they can recruit the way they can recruit. And now that's got to make Nick Saban a little nervous because they're like the Texas.
They're going after the same guys. They are going after all the same
guys, but they have the money in this NIL era to get these guys.
They do. That's one thing that's hurt the Florida teams too, Jim and guys, is the fact that Alabama, Georgia, LSU, these teams can all recruit the kids from Florida, which is certainly rich in football. Right. But it's hurt Florida State, and it's hurt Florida, and it's hurt Miami. Miami played well yesterday against the Little Sisters of the Poor, but
exactly who they were. I thought there was just the lines.
Yeah, that was a tough game.
The greatest recruiting pitch I think they can give is show the amount of players they've sent to the NFL, like with Alabama and Georgia.
That is true.
That's a great point. And realignment certainly doesn't help them either, because now they can recruit all the way to Oklahoma, for crying out loud. All of these teams. So I mean that's a big deal in the realignment too. It's not just it's a lot tailed, but you expand your recruiting base exponentially.
Right.
You can go look at the Big Ten. They'll go coast to coast in 2 years. So
I was thinking about that too when Rutgers beat Boston College, and saying, wow, they're going to open up their recruiting if they just be average.
But I don't.
Did Rutgers win yesterday? I know that they had that crazy play.
They came back from a 21-7 deficit and won 22-21.
Did that crazy play count? I was told it did not count. They had this one play where they were running all around the field. I don't know. I just saw it on Instagram. I thought it was from this Sunday, but they literally it was like a play where they were rugby throwing the ball, and at one point the one guy he got into a lineman's hands, and he's just like, woo! He just threw it up behind him, and somebody caught it and ran it, and then they rugbyed it a couple other times, and it wound up going for a touchdown.
I got to check that out. I haven't seen that in the highlights, and I had to leave just for the end of that. I was watching the end of that game. I had to leave for a wedding just as it was coming to an end, so I don't know if it was that play or not, but I'll have to check it out.
And of course, we've got to bring in UConn, the #1 team in the nation. Right?
They beat Central Connecticut yesterday. Big win for UConn.
Yeah. What is that? What is that?
Division 2?
That's Division 2, right? That's a Division 2 AA.
Central might be Division 3. I'm not sure.
That's what I think it is.
Because I know Connecticut plays against Villanova, and Villanova is a Division 1 AA. I think is what it is. They don't have they're not. They're the real. That is the real national champion. Where and now that they have these playoffs, it's a little bit of a different scenario. But
Howie Long,
Villanova, probably the best football player ever to come out of Villanova for sure.
That's not true, Brian Westbrook.
Oh well, I might be debatable.
Listen, that's a good one. He went. What a running back!
That's a good one. It is a good.
But Howie Long's a Hall of Famer.
I'm taking Howie Long in that matchup.
Come on, man.
Guys, Bryce Young, 6 touchdown passes. I think the NFL watch has begun, in the sense that if a team like the Jaguars has the worst record, they're not going to draft a quarterback, meaning he might actually go to one of the better teams if they could put a package together to get him.
The Jags won't have the worst record, I wouldn't think.
I agree. I think that the Jaguars are going to be a lot better than people believe.
Any team that has their franchise quarterback, if they're in a position to draft them, probably is going to trade that pick. And what I'm trying to say is one of the better teams that has a veteran quarterback, they might pull the trigger on a big deal, kind of what Indianapolis did. But Indianapolis didn't have to trade to get Andrew Luck that year.
Right.
But if a team would move on from a Peyton Manning, any team would move on from a veteran to get a stud young quarterback like Bryce Young.
I'll tell you, Bryce Young put himself in the driver's seat for the second back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner yesterday, because C.J. Stroud didn't play that well last night. He's the favorite right now, at least as far as the betting apps and such go.
Wasn't Archie Griffin also back-to-back?
The only one, 74-75, I believe. Yeah.
But don't be surprised if there is a defensive player for the first time.
Henderson.
Yes, from Alabama.
Yeah,
he might be the Heisman Trophy winner.
Charles Woodson won.
That's what
he was technically a defensive player, I guess, but he played some offense, and so there was that, kind of a hybrid for Woodson. But he was technically a cornerback, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But this would be the first true defensive player, certainly.
That's right.
I think at a minimum, you're going to see him invited with the finalists to New York for the ceremony, and he'll have a shot.
How do you think that a defense guy in that type of voting is going to be able to compete against offensive talent, and especially quarterbacks who could throw touchdowns? Like Alabama quarterback, Georgia's quarterback, things of that nature, where they're going to be able to run up scores, and the defense can only do so much. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, if every series goes perfect for that guy, and he gets a tackle and maybe a half a sack on every set of downs, and they go 3 and out every time, you're only going to have so many plays in a game.
And
So that's
guys, I'm still not a fan of running the score up at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I think if most teams didn't do that would be the way it is. So I'm not a big fan of that.
Well,
you also have to understand with Henderson, he might, with a quarterback-driven draft, he might still be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
He's that good. Wouldn't you agree, Keith?
I would. I would say he could easily be the number 1 pick in the draft, depending how the season goes.
Well, it's going to depend. That would really depend on whether it's Seattle or Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because
and
realistically, because Seattle would have to go quarterback. Chicago could go defense guy.
I mean,
but this guy is unique. He might be a once in a lifetime player.
Oh, they say that
it's kind of like Michael Jordan and Sam Bowie.
Why don't we compare it in a real sense? You're talking about him being Reggie White.
Yes,
that's what you're talking about. You're talking about this guy being
Lawrence
like Reggie
Taylor.
White.
Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, guys like that.
And what position does this kid play? Because it's the first time hearing
outside linebacker.
Yeah.
All right, so then he would be more like Lawrence Taylor then. All right, so not Reggie White.
And as far as the Heisman goes, it's the publicity train that's going to run this. If they keep talking about him week after week on ESPN Game Day and every other show, and you see him all over the internet, then yes, he will have a chance to win the Heisman.
But you got to imagine one bad game from him almost knocks him out of it. So he can't have he can't even have a bad series because it would be weighing so highly. Every series is important to a defense guy, where an offensive guy could throw an interception, come back down and throw 3 more touchdowns, and that interception's forgotten about. Where a bad series for him would actually resonate almost throughout a game.
True.
So, Jack,
I think in a different era, we don't only talk about who might win the Heisman, but now we're talking who might go number 1 overall in the draft just as much. I think the speculation starts right now.
I would agree.
Exactly. Because right now, it doesn't matter. Like, every team is on the clock.
Yes.
Because we're all 0-0. So every team is on the clock. Every team is looking at these games, and there ain't nothing else to watch. It's not like you could put on anything else. So it's college football is ruling the roost. That's why they started with week 0, because so that they could actually have 2 weeks in the bag before the NFL really begins.
Well, that's their goal at all of this, right? They know they can't beat the NFL. They want to be the number 2 sport in this country as far as money goes and viewers go. College football isn't in a perfect situation. Attendance at the stadiums is actually down.
Yes.
Viewership is really good, and that's what matters because that's why the Big Ten got $1.2 billion. But still, in person, the game is dwindling in attendance. I think the FBS division averaged like 39,000 a game last year, which is very, very low, especially when you consider places like Michigan can fit 100,000 people in their stadium. So
yeah, and UCLA.
Good. I'm sorry.
No, all I was going to say is UCLA had their lowest attendance in their history last game against Bowling Green.
Why do you guys think that's happening right now?
Part of it is because of proliferation of TV. You can watch any game someplace. You can stream it somewhere. ESPN Plus, ACC Network, SEC Network, Big Ten Network.
Not only that.
Yeah.
I have an app that I could get any game I want to.
There you go.
Any game. I'm not going to tout because they don't pay me any money to do so. But you could get every game, any NFL game, any college football game, any college basketball game. If I want to go watch the boxing match that you could only get on the Zone, I could go to this app and get it. Any MMA fight, it's so there are things out there that allow you to be able to go and watch these things without having to get on there, and it's too comfortable to watch it at home.
Exactly.
Who wants to go hang around with a whole bunch of college kids if you're 50 years old?
And the cost is outrageous. Yeah. So
how many people watch one particular game because so much is available at the same time? Yeah, I'll watch the Jet game in its entirety if they're playing, but otherwise you tend to scan and go to the different games. I mean, so how many people just, like I said, watch one particular game?
If I'm I'm the same way as you. I'll watch a Patriot game from start to finish. But if I'm not watching Patriots, I'm watching the Red Zone. And in college. I can also watch. There's something called something similar. I can't remember what it is. I think it's an ESPN channel, but it's very similar to the Red Zone.
But that's why you have Sunday Ticket, and that's why you have the popularity of Sunday Ticket, because you can watch multiple games.
Yeah,
find out which game is the best.
Which, by the way, is also probably getting up on one of the streaming services because they're back up next year. This year the contract expires, and it's going to be Amazon and Apple probably fighting it out for the rights to that.
Yeah, and I know that there has not been a lot of good feeling about Apple. You know that it has not been very exciting for people, and they've had a real hard time getting onto it. So I don't know.
Well, it'd be a little different because Apple and they're doing their own production and their own broadcast teams and whatnot, and they're god awful. Mm-hmm. But with the NFL ticket, that's different. You're picking up the feeds from the different networks, so you're not producing the games yourself. You're not having your own announcers, so it's a little different.
Exactly. It is a little different. So, but real quickly, because we know we only have you for a few more minutes, we might as well jump right into the NFL, starting with your AFC East. Who do you think? I mean, obviously, we all know Buffalo is going to win that division because that's like a unanimous pick across the country. Everybody's got Buffalo winning. How do you see the rest of the AFC East shaping up?
Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins.
Wow.
I think the Patriots will struggle early, but I think they'll get it together. The biggest thing for the Patriots is the offensive line, and they've got to play better. And even then, they've got to stay healthy because they're not very deep either. And also the defense has got to gel. They got some young kids on the corners that have to play better, and they got to figure out how to use Jabril Peppers out there in that defensive backfield as well, with two really good safeties ahead of them. And then, Mac Jones's improvement is what's going to be contingent on how well this team does. I can get him I can find 10 wins for this team.
You can?
I can find 10 wins.
You okay? I mean, hey, listen, I don't look for wins. I look for losses. And I could absolutely find like 9 losses in the Patriots.
Oh, so. Again, if I look hard enough, I can find 9 losses as well. But again, I can find. You're right. I mean, you can go about this either way, but I can find 10 wins. But again, this team could easily win 7 games as well as then find 10 losses. So
there's that.
Alan seems to not agree with you.
Of course, he doesn't. Alan never agrees with me.
You guys have the top team still together. The Bills, although he's got the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. He's saying that your Pats are going to be fighting for that number 1. I
will also tell you that I think that the Patriots make the playoffs, maybe win a game, but they're not going to compete for anything else. And I think the Bills.
I kind of wonder.
But one more thing, I think the Bills win the Super Bowl this year as well.
Wow!
I'll take you that far.
You picked the Dolphins for last place. What was interesting yesterday, and I saw that slipped under the radar, the Dolphins voted on their team captains, and Tyreek Hill was voted as one of the captains, and Jalen Waddle wasn't. I know Waddle's only in his second year. Tyreek Hill is more established, but Waddle was there last year. He had a great rookie year. Tyreek Hill is new. I could sense something, that I didn't care for. Tua was voted, it had the most votes reportedly as a team captain, but why not Jalen Waddle? So I kind of have a feeling Tyreek Hill's influence is going to be extremely powerful in the locker room, and that
will be.
That might not be a good thing if they.
And when Tua starts missing him right and left, where Patrick Mahomes wouldn't, and he doesn't have a Kelsey to set him up and in what he does well on the field, he's going to start speaking up a lot.
As we were doing our fantasy football draft yesterday, that was one of the jokes that we talked about when somebody picked Waddle. My brother, who's probably the smartest, he was the one who got closest to playing in the NFL by playing Division III football. he said straight out, he goes, yeah, that's exactly who you want. The second receiver getting thrown to by Tua. The number 2 receiver getting throws from Tua is probably a really good pick in the 7th round.
This team is going to struggle. I'm telling you right now. Mark, remember, you can save this tape, Mac.
Okay.
Thanks. Save this tape.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, hey, listen, we have our hidden producer. She's writing down all of the picks.
All right.
So she's there and she's on it. So she's got what you said, and we're going to be able to hold it against you, especially because when we start dancing, that the Patriots are going to stink this year.
No, wait, you know what? We'll see. Now, I will tell you, don't tell me in September they stink, because I will tell you they'll probably be very bad in September. I'm going to go out there and they'll still find a way to get to 10 wins.
Keith, the Patriots have already started their decline. If you count the one playoff loss, they've been 17-17 the last 2 seasons. So the decline has begun.
I can't count the season before, Jack. I can't count the season before. That was an aberration. I got a guy who can't play quarterback anymore playing quarterback, and I'm not counting that season in this. This is a totally different team than 2 years ago. Not totally.
I understand that. Well, listen, I know we got to let Keith go because he's got his other show that he's got to get to. So I want to thank you for giving us a little bit of time this morning. Have a good show, and
absolutely, guys.
We'll see you next Sunday here for a little bit, where you get to choose who you're picking, for your suicide pool.
All right, perfect. Because I'm in a suicide pool, so I will give you the coinciding pick.
There you go.
Job again.
All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks, Keith. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
And then as we lose Keith here.
I hear the music in my head.
What's going on?
It's coming. It's coming.
All right.
Here he is, the one, the only, the best dressed guy on the Northeast Streaming Sports.
Woo! Man, you got me.
There he goes.
coming on strong. Robert Butler here, the best dressed guy on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, Robert.
What, Jim?
Hey, real quick,
Jack.
Bobby Wagner was voted the captain of the Rams, and that was his first year there. So, I mean, there's some guys that I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is one of those guys, but Wagner was voted a captain for the
Wagner's a natural leader who's, by all reports, is great in the locker room, and he's reportedly a team first guy.
All right,
Oh, there's Pickles.
Pickles.
Yeah, Pickles. I haven't. Pickles' first thing was Tua can't carry a team. He was talking about Notre Dame, and I'm just not a fan of Notre Dame, so I left that.
And he also said he couldn't carry a tune, also, Pags. So just remember that.
So, but anyways, we were just talking. We just got done with the AFC East, because really the 3 minutes that we need to talk to. Everybody's got the Bills going to the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for them to get there than it is to win, because they have to get out of their own heads on the fact that they've been so close for the last couple of years and haven't been able to get over the hump. So I feel that's going to come into play.
And those 4 times too, Pags. Those 4 times.
Well, I mean, but this is a whole new team. Obviously, that old day. Yeah, that old back in the olden days. I mean, I know that you guys were middle aged at that point, but most of Buffalo doesn't remember that, or tries not to remember that. They've jumped through too many tables now. They got the head damage to forget all about that. But your division, you have half good, half bad. At least that's what everybody looks at it as. That you have Houston and Jacksonville, which are going to stink, and then you have Indianapolis and Tennessee that are going to be good, and then it's going to be a fight between Tennessee and Indianapolis to see who's going to win the division. I hope you're going to tell me Derrick Henry is going to be a beast, and he's going to score 30 touchdowns this year, because I got him on both my fantasy football teams.
Yeah, I tell you, man, I think he will have a pretty good year. Harold Landry tore his ACL this week. That's Tennessee's best edge rusher. They haven't done anything to replace him. Maybe they go after Robert Quinn from Chicago is what I've been reading, but they haven't made that move. I'm concerned about Tennessee. But then again, I want to say Darius Leonard, the best defensive player for the Colts. I think he's coming off back surgery. When you start reading stuff like at some point this season, we just don't know. And I wouldn't just completely snooze on this Jacksonville team with their pass rush. They got Doug Peterson now. Quarterbacks make their biggest jump from year 1 to year 2. I think they're going to be way more competitive than people give them credit for. And yeah, I do agree, Jamie. Houston, they've got another year or two to complete their rebuild. They're probably going to be in the top 5 in the draft with Seattle next year. But I'm not quite sure I'm ready to pencil in Tennessee. I'm going to have to break that down this week on my show, which, by the way, guys, Tuesday starts at 7 p.m. Central Time. Will be Monday through Friday. Invite everybody on. I'll send you emails and stuff on that. So, but this division is going to be pretty competitive. I think it'll be a 3-team race, guys. Seriously, I'm not sure about Jacksonville, how good they're going to be. Now, remember, they beat the Colts last year to knock them out of the playoffs. They've beat the Colts 7 straight years in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Now, correct me. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jack.
Titans signed Josh Gordon. That's kind of it's a gamble. They took a flyer on him, but if he can keep out of trouble and works out, he could be a steal.
Well, they signed him to the practice squad. He hasn't done nothing to impress me. I don't know. If you can't catch a ball from Patrick Mahomes, what makes you think you're going to catch one from Ryan Tannehill? He was great in 2015 with the Cleveland Browns, scoring having a couple 200-yard games there. But the fact that they didn't be aggressive, Jack, and go after one of the, like a Mims or somebody from the Jets, that tells me that they like this receiving core. Guys like Westbrook, Akini, and Robert Woods coming back from a torn ACL himself, guys. So they're pretty confident. Judging by their moves, they're pretty confident. They made a trade and got I want to get a safety from you guys, Jamie, in a trade. I want to say, I can't remember the guy's name.
So actually, that was the trade. We made a trade for who was the guy that we wound up picking up? Anyways, he was there for like a couple of days, and then we traded him away. He literally was traded from Seattle. So we got the safety from Seattle for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Got a draft pick for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He winds up getting cut in Seattle, but the guy who we wound up getting winds up getting traded to Tennessee.
Are you talking about Abrams?
I think so. He's probably be a nickel guy. I don't think this isn't somebody huge. This isn't going to be this isn't Darius Slay or
this was a guy who was going to wind up getting cut in Seattle. They wound up making trade with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside because he was going to get cut in Philly. They both, like I said, they both aren't even on the teams anymore because J.J. wind up getting cut in Seattle. He didn't make it as a tight end, and our guy, we wound up trading to Tennessee. So we wound up getting draft picks on both sides of a guy who wound up, is no longer even on an NFL team.
I know you have to have talent on teams, but I think Tennessee's X factor is Vrabel because he is the best coach in the division. There is no question. It's not even close, and that's what's going to get them over the top.
Yeah. Josh Gordon, loud. Hey, listen, unless marijuana is legal in Tennessee, then he's going to be okay. His problem is not partying. His problem is pot.
Yeah.
And doesn't this make the Jets look a lot smarter than they did before with that trade and getting all those draft picks and Gordon and all that stuff? I mean, not Gordon. Who they picked
Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Seattle was thinking there. It's probably Pete Carroll's last year, Jim.
That's exactly it. They just don't care.
That.
Yeah. So it's just. So who would you say? How would you rank your teams in that division?
Man, I tell you, today I would probably still put Tennessee first, the Colts, Jacksonville, Houston. But again, I have to run through and really study this week. I know that I want to say the Colts got a cornerback who used to play with the Patriots. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. This guy was a former defensive player of the year. Now, he's in his 30s, though. When you start getting that 31, 32 and playing the defensive back, I'm not sure if you're going to be that guy that was that all-pro type of player. So I'm really still kind of leaning Tennessee, but I'm concerned about that that Harold Landry thing.
Yeah, that really hurts you.
It feels like, Jim, that they're probably not going to be a team. They're going to be about like last year. They may win the division and get put out in the first round, unfortunately.
Yeah,
because somebody's got to win this division.
Yeah.
It's like,
Indianapolis has Matt Ryan instead of Carson Wentz. Had they had Matt Ryan last year, that may have been the difference making them getting into the playoffs.
But the question is how much does Ryan have left in the tank?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about him. I don't know how much watching him in Atlanta, I don't know how much he has left in the tank. But he might start off well, but can he sustain
You gotta admit, though, he is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league.
Yes.
And it's a huge upgrade to me.
And
are these teams trying to catch Brady in a bottle? Is that what this is? I mean, realistically, where Brady switches team, wins the Super Bowl, is that what these teams are starting to do or starting to try to do? You got new quarterbacks all over the NFL, that used to be, great in other places.
I want to get back to what Jim said. How much does Matt Ryan have left? You question it. Look what he had last year. He didn't have Calvin Ridley. They moved on from Julio Jones. But Kyle Pitts, had a ton of catches from Matt Ryan. So it's hard to tell. I mean, it's hard to tell. But I think just the leadership he's going to provide at Indianapolis is going to be measurable.
Pickles is right.
Ryan has
Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor.
His quarterback rating in the fourth quarter has got to be bad, guys. I mean, I've watched Atlanta. Yeah. Jim, they've blown a lot of leads. This is not just – I'm not giving them a lot of flack about the Super Bowl years ago. I'm talking regular season, 17, 20-point leads, and he seems to make bad decisions late. He's not aggressive enough in those games, late in the games. He's very nonchalant. You can make the argument he's a less athletic Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz made a lot of mistakes late in games last year, including a pick six to Tennessee that pretty much cost them the division. And I'm sure that plus losing to Jacksonville at the end there is what really irked Jim Irsay off to go ahead and command the trade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I listen. I get it. But the fact that they, it winds up being a much better trade for the Eagles because of the way it all worked out, and a horrible trade for Indianapolis. And then to go ahead and mortgage another, whole bunch of future picks to be able to get a quarterback who may be, I kind of look at it like Rivers, like he's not much different than Rivers. He may actually put up some numbers, but not necessarily he's not going to lead you somewhere. I look at Matt Ryan, and he's a Philadelphia product. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I've been a fan of Matt Ryan, but I agree he's not Matty Ice in the fourth. No. He has blown leads. I feel that he has mental blocks about certain teams. He has had a really difficult time trying to beat the Eagles in general, and of course they play the Eagles again this year. So it's. Yeah, I find it in a lot of different ways where I don't think that Indianapolis is going to be as good as everybody thinks. And I feel that it's possible that you could have that division specifically be could possibly have a winner of that division be under 500.
Yeah, 9-8, 8-9, 9-8 is totally not out of the question. And again, I'm serious. I think Jacksonville, they're a wild card. We've seen teams, San Francisco guys, they were a year ahead of time when they went a few years ago, not last year and the NFC Championship, but when they actually made it to the Super Bowl, people thought that they were, and you just never know when you start getting these high draft picks, players just, a switch goes off. They got Doug Peterson. So Doug Peterson's actually won a Super Bowl. So some may say he may be the best coach. I mean, I still like Vrabel a little bit better, but he's no clown. If you got a ring, you got a ring.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think though.
Gave a lot of credit to Frank Reich for that Super Bowl, by the way. Coach.
Yeah, and Frank Reich hasn't won gotten to the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game since then.
Something about the Jaguars, you're so high on them. I notice little things, okay? Jaguars are kind of soft on the Doug Peterson. You know what they did in their facility for the first time? They put in a ping pong table. They actually put in a ping pong table for
how dare they? You gotta be kidding.
Full football concentration. Jimmy Johnson never would have put in a ping pong table in there. He would have had it removed, Jim, if he saw it.
I think that competition is competition, and that's probably what that's supposed to be signifying. I don't think it has anything to do with anything else. Because I know he also put in a whole big ice cream freezer in there because he's really big on vanilla ice cream, and it better be Haagen-Dazs. He doesn't like Breyers or anything else. It's
Go ahead, Jim.
And Jimmy Johnson used to have Heineken on ice.
So, nice.
He didn't mind his guys guzzling down some beers and all. That's been in the image.
He had racquetball courts, Jack.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was conditioning. You're getting the conditioning in there. He knew that.
The Dallas Cowboys played just as bad when they drink Heineken as they do regular. So that just happens.
I'm glad you're here, man.
And my thought is that Joe Lawrence last year was like his 5th year of college. I feel that the coach and the way they ran that whole organization, that was another year of college for him. So I don't necessarily agree that this is like his 2nd year in the NFL, although it is officially. I think now now is where he really starts his NFL tutelage, where it wasn't that way before.
Because you got to be honest, Urban Meyers was awful.
Man,
I
was way off on that one.
I mean, that was the worst, the worst hire ever. I mean, it was bad. And you think about it, and I agree with you, Robert.
Yeah,
Peterson is going to have this kid playing better. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah,
that they move up to the 2nd best team in that division, and just like you said, they're draft picks, and they have organization, and they do have skills on that team. And this kid's going to be better. He is not talent.
Jim, by the end of the year, they're going to be saying we never should have drafted Trayvon Walker with the number 1 overall pick. We should have taken Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, my goodness.
Hutchinson is going to have a great rookie year, and Walker's still going to be a bit of a project.
I don't think so. Walker's got a lot of talent now.
Yeah, Hutchinson's having a great camp. Mark or Tom Coughlin, it's the same racquetball ping pong table that he put in storage about 6 years ago, and then they brought it back. Coughlin,
Dallas is still taking the Giants hand-me-downs, Jim.
Table, last place. As soon as I heard the ping pong table, Jacksonville, the words "last place" popped into my head.
Oh my goodness,
guys! They held Buffalo to 6 points last year. In the game.
I'm telling you, watch out for them. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but they're going to be very competitive because they do have the quarterback and they do have the organizational skills now.
I believe that they'll go somewhere around 7-10. I don't think that they're going to be so great. However, 7-10 could be 2nd in this division here.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, because I think that somebody could win this division with an 8-9 record. That this is going to rival the NFC East of 3 years ago, where everybody kind of sunk out loud. I feel that everybody's kind of going through a transition, and ultimately, you're going to see an improvement from Jacksonville. I think Houston's going to be look improved by proxy because everybody else in that division is going to be bad. Yeah, I'm not saying bad. I think that, like I said, I think Derrick Henry is enough to be able to win that division on his own in comparison to everybody else. It's going to be versus who was it? Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
for the
Jonathan Taylor
division.
for the Colts. Yeah.
Guys,
All right.
guys, who do you think was more powerful, Derrick Henry or Eric Campbell?
Or Earl Campbell?
Yes, sorry, Earl Campbell.
I think I would have to go with Henry. Henry is unique.
Yeah, and
You
I can't
played
really
against
speak
him, so,
intelligently
yeah.
because I never saw Earl Campbell play.
I've hit Earl Campbell, and it was like hitting a brick wall.
Yes.
But I watch Henry, and I'm thinking, geez, you got to remember, this guy is 260 pounds.
Right.
And can run like that.
And just pushing people over. I still love watching that
Yeah.
one where he had that guy flying in the air.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I'm saying. I would have to go with Henry. I'd
say Marshall Lynch, even though he wasn't in the question.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then see when you start talking like that, then I think of Christian Okoye. You know what I mean? And that's where we're talking about big guys who could move people and such. So
Brandon Jacobs on the Giants. I mean,
but he wasn't the same.
He didn't have that lift.
No,
Henry's
he didn't. He wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you want to be able to score a lot of touchdowns. Like I said, I want Derrick Henry to have his the best year of his career, especially since I have him on both of
And
my
I'll tell you another one we didn't talk about. Jerome Bettis was like that big
the
bus. Yeah,
the bus.
Yeah,
So
he was the bus.
Yeah,
that
I
was
can
Josh
imagine.
Norman, Jamie, for Buffalo. He flicked Norman out of the way like a twig, and
There you go.
that was a meme.
Yeah,
That's it. And I love looking at that because I mean, Josh Norman was such a fan. I've been such a fan
really
of Josh
Mafia.
Norman throughout his career.
Yeah, poster.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's almost like getting dunked where he was just flying through the air. I love that type of stuff. But Derrick Henry's got that type of way, and it really depends more on how he's recuperated from the injury from last year. I think that's going to be the same thing.
Let me ask Rob, the Lamar Jackson contract situation, are they franchising him or are they going to sign him to a long-term deal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that they possibly may let him play out this year and franchise him before March, Jack. That doesn't seem too far out of the question. I think he's taking a big risk here. I know about Russell Wilson's contract. He's 25. Like I said, I probably wouldn't do it, but I could see the Baltimore Ravens finding a way to make this work at least till he gets 30.
Let me ask Really, let me ask you this question, Robert. He's been MVP twice, correct?
No, once.
This guy is, and I've always argued about this because he's already getting injured.
Yes,
but he is a talent.
Yeah,
he is a talent. If he could throw the ball a little better, he carries that team.
Yeah,
he is the face of the Baltimore Ravens. And
man, I love their roster too. I mean,
if they can stay healthy, people are gonna like everybody forgot about them. But if they stay healthy, they're gonna be a hard out.
Yeah,
because they got players. They got players.
Well, and that division's really going to go down to Cincinnati, whether they were able to bolster up their offensive line at all, because everything else seemed to be working for them, and Baltimore, who's now going to be back at full strength.
Exactly.
Now that they have Baltimore, they have the quarterback Jackson and everybody back.
I mean, when you think of Jackson, he is a pain in the butt to defenses. And even though he's not a great passer, he is a talent. And he gives you headaches because you got to defend against the run. You got Mark Andrews, like you said. Other than that, they need more receivers, but their running game, they want to brutalize you. That's their game. They want to beat you up and play defense.
The greatest preseason team of all time.
Huh?
The greatest preseason team of all time, the Baltimore Ravens.
They're usually pretty good in the season too.
Well, it's not really hard for a quarterback to pick up that much yardage when the defense all has their backs to him, and he's just running up their backs. That is one of the benefits of playing, against other teams that play a zone and some man to man sometimes. I don't see the big deal of a quarterback when that's the type of coverage running for forever. I don't.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
the problem with Lamar Jackson, he tries to get those extra few yards. That's what the problem's been.
Yeah, but they know what he's going to do, and they can't stop him. That's tough. I mean, they know what he's about, and they still can't stop him.
At what point do we start putting Harbaugh into the conversation of one of the best coaches?
You already did. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. What they did last year with all
what would he need to do to start making it of all time?
Oh, he's got to.
I mean, when you start putting coaches in the all time, obviously we got Belichick. You've got Tom Landry. You've got. I mean, there's been some great coaches. Right now, Andy Reid is probably. There's Andy Reid and Belichick, and those two are really listed
Andy
up there.
Reid's not nearly on Belichick's level. Get out of here.
You'd have to say.
Hey, listen, it's all a matter of opinion.
You'd have to say the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach would be on
Mike Tomlin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone mention Joe Gibbs? I mean, why does his name get lost?
3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, mostly because Joe Gibbs has been irrelevant here for a while now. That's the only reason why you just forget about him. It's not for any other reason other than his name doesn't come to the forefront of my mind because he stopped coaching really in the 90s, and his stint to come back was really elated with the fact that he wanted to go back to racing cars. So that's
a coach like Marty Schottenheimer never went to a Super Bowl, but he always elevated his team, excellent regular season coach. So it's such a hard thing to measure.
I think eventually Harbaugh will get in the Hall of Fame. He's won Super Bowls. He's had quality teams. He's done the things. But to elevate him to one of the best coaches that ever coached a game, he has to win more. He has to win more Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, now you're starting to talk about Lombardi, Paul Brown, the great coaches like that. I mean, that's.
Well, so I would say that he's there on that list and on that plane right now. But he actually, I would say, out of all of the coaches out there, short of, like I said, I guess you could say Andy Reid is on that same precipice that Mike Tomlin and Harbaugh. Saying that Belichick has already crossed over that threshold as one of the best coaches of all time. But you have those 3 coaches who have all they've done is known winning. That's what they've done. Yeah. They've won every year that they've been around. I mean, Tomlin doesn't have a losing season at all.
Yeah.
So it's how do you when you start figuring that stuff in, it's gotta come into play. And that's where I feel the exact same way this is that, if Harbaugh won 2 more Super Bowls, and had won 2 more Super Bowls already, he'd already be in that conversation. You could say that he almost already crossed over, but he hasn't won those 2 Super Bowls. But he continues to win every year. You always have Baltimore in the mix of possibly being, a Super Bowl contender, and that's not easy to do. Even this year with Pittsburgh being in such disarray on their offense, Tomlin is still looked at as he's actually probably the sexiest pick for coach of the year right now, because if they happen to make the playoffs, how do you not vote for him with as depleted as their offense is?
And that defense has had, they give Lamar Jackson fits. I mean, they keep it, that Pittsburgh defense keeps him in a box. And going back to Lamar Jackson, guys, when Cleveland gets Deshaun Watson back, I've got Cincinnati winning that division. Not even looking at the schedule this year. I've got them winning the division again. They got 3 new offensive line. They've upgraded that offensive line. There's nothing that Baltimore can do with Cincinnati right now. But when Deshaun Watson comes back, and who knows if Kenny Pickett, the light bulb goes off for him, they could be in 4th place by this time next year. So I'm sure the management in Baltimore is thinking about this, thinking, man, this is how do we arrange this contract where we're not stuck for years if he gets hurt really bad? I think that's the biggest question.
That's the fear.
Yeah, that's the fear. Jack.
Rob, we don't want you leaving the show today without giving you a Super Bowl prediction.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Man, I was hoping to do that this time next week.
Well, the first game is Thursday. You can't give it after the season has begun.
Well, that's one game. I've never counted.
I agree, Robert.
Yeah. I'm leaning heavy Buffalo. Roger Saffold, Tennessee also lost him. One of the best blocking left guards in football, run blocking for Buffalo. Ken Dorsey, he's got to be able to convey that. And I like that push Buffalo got. I'm leaning heavy for Buffalo. Von Miller, supposed to get Trayvon Diggs back at cornerback there. If they develop this running back, Trayvon White.
I was going to say.
Travarius White.
Travarius, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's still a little while off.
Yeah, he tore his ACL or something last year.
I'm
thinking about Dallas. I'm sorry, guys.
Wrong. Over Dallas, you're saying?
No, I was thinking about Dallas. Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Diggs'
We had to
brother.
put you in the spot. Buffalo's playing Thursday night. If they were to lose badly to the Rams, you wouldn't come on next week and pick Buffalo to win the Super Bowl.
I think they'll have more fans in there.
You're down now.
I think Buffalo wins Thursday. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, who does Buffalo beat in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the NFC, I'm torn between the Rams and the 49ers. I think the 49ers, keeping Garoppolo there, with Lance, that's my debate in my head, guys. And I have to break down the schedules.
And Robert, let's not forget about the Giants, who will be there too. Also.
The Giants.
Yeah, they can get tickets to the game.
Giants may beat Tennessee this a week from today, Mac. I'm not putting anything in stone other than maybe Denver beating Seattle next week. That's
yes. Is that your suicide pick? Denver over Seattle.
Russell Wilson coming home, back to big contract. He's got to have 4 touchdowns next week, and they've got to win convincingly in Seattle.
Yeah, see, and I believe, first off, I think it's going to be a little bit, again, Brady-itis, where when Brady went back to New England, there was too many emotions, and your emotions actually come into play here. And I think that's what will happen a little bit. It's not going to be as close. It's not going to be as close as big of a blowout as everybody thinks.
Oh, come on. They had nothing to do with emotions with Brady. It was Belichick's defensive schemes. Tell him, Jim.
No.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Jim. Tell me it had nothing to do with emotion, right?
Giselle's been getting on him and everything, and he was just
No, when they played New England last year.
I know.
Brady played so. It had nothing to do with emotions. It was New England's.
There's always emotion.
Exactly correct. I no doubt in my mind that
you walk to the wrong locker room, Jack, a lot of times.
So I kind of feel that there's going to be a lot of emotion as he goes up to Seattle, and I think that's going to have that's going to be a big part of this game. Seattle is going to look a lot better than they will for the rest of the season in game 1. Couple of reasons. I think that DK is going to take a role similar to Cordarrelle Patterson in this game. It's going to be DK Metcalf versus Russell Wilson. And that's how this game is going to go. And I think that's going to be a shootout of interesting proportions in that regard. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think that they're going to go back and forth, and they're going to try to prove who was the one that should have been kept in Seattle. And I think it's going to be a much closer game than people think.
Wow, no Bobby Wagner, Jamie. The middle of the defense will be open.
Yep. But Russ has got to be able to see them. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be a little bit harder for Russ. I think that he's going to be, especially when you're so used to seeing the colors on the opposite side, that's the colors you threw to all the time, and now all of a sudden you're not throwing to them. There's going to be a little bit of maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't type in there that he's not going to be able to have his best game coming out of the gate.
Me and my wife had this conversation, almost the same conversation about Kerry Collins. I mean, he had that great game against Minnesota where they went, I think, 48-0. But he always near the end of the game, threw it to the other team. and they were always wide open, of course. So that was ridiculous.
Looks like Pickles has got his bet that Metcalf won't have 5 catches. I don't know that I would take those bets,
Cassius
but
Letang will be in his be on him.
Listen, people, we talk about Tyreek Hill, how patient he's going to be with Tua. That won't compare to DK Metcalf having Geno Smith.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Oh, gee.
At least Miami isn't going. It's debatable how good they're going to be, but they're not a train wreck. Seattle's a potential train wreck.
Yeah.
I know that Robert's got to get going here, so that's why you hear the music. The music just automatically comes up every time he's got to get ready to go. So, Robert, thank you very much for
Thank you,
coming
Robert.
on the show
Have a good
today.
day.
And Robert,
we'll see you next Sunday.
Please pray for us in church, please.
Okay, Mac. Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Have a good one, Robert.
There you go.
There we go. And I love that music. That's like the best intro music. I got to just get the dancing girls for him. Listen, we're going to commercial break, and then we will be back after these messages to talk about the rest of the NFL and where we think everybody is going to be at the end of this season. So stay tuned right after these messages.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm Top Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, isn't he?
And we are back to the Mac, Jack, and Jim NFL football show. This is our preseason picks before the season begins to find out who is going to win the Super Bowl. Like I said, everybody's going to choose who I pick because I'm going to be right and these guys are going to be wrong because obviously, nobody knows football here on this show just like I do. Hey, listen, guys, obviously – we went over a couple of the divisions. I want to talk about the one division that I have been very critical of, and I know that you guys are not as critical, or actually not just critical. You guys are just in a different mindset than I am. The AFC West. I know that this is a stacked division. Everybody says that they're so super stacked that they're going to be able to have maybe 3 teams or possibly all 4 teams make it into the playoffs. Do you guys really believe that?
I don't think there's going to be a lot of separation. I mean, I could see a scenario where the division winners 11-6 and the last place team is 8-9. I could see something like that playing out.
I think what's going to happen is they're going to eat their own. And by that, I mean, there will be teams like, say, let's look at Denver. They'll play those teams tough and they'll beat them maybe once or twice. And the same with Oakland, or not Oakland now, Las Vegas. And the same with Kansas City. I still think Kansas City is the best team in the division. I don't care what anybody says on that. If you got Mahomes, you got a chance.
But which is the team with the most upside who could surge forward? Could it be Kansas City? Can they become a 15-2 type team? Are they more like an 11-6 team? Can the Chargers, who barely missed the playoffs, could they potentially be, with Mac and Bosa anchoring the defense? Could they potentially go 13-4? That Justin Herbert, continues his big leap?
I still think they're not the best. And it's not saying they're not a good team, but they're still the worst team in that division. I think Oakland's are sent. Go ahead.
And guys, you figure, I agree with Jim. They're gonna be eating their own over there. You can't not be the best if you can't beat your own teams. So I have a feeling that they're gonna make a lot of noise in that division this year.
Yeah.
I, of course, think absolutely otherwise. I think that that the Chiefs are still going to be good. I feel that now Herbert being in his 3rd year, that they have enough on him to know how to beat him and how to at least combat against him. Their defense has gotten a little bit.
You can say that about every team, Pags. You can say that about every quarterback that now they have enough film.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the AFC West. I ain't talking about every other quarterback. I'm talking about the AFC West. And I'm telling you that I find that whole division is overrated in comparison to the way everybody else is talking about it. I feel that, I don't think Russell Wilson has got all that he's got left in the tank. That they are touting him as like Tom Brady, and he is not Tom Brady. He is not that good anymore. And I feel that that's going to show through in Denver, and that by the end of this season, you may find that Denver has regretted the fact that they signed him for 7 years.
I think.
I mean, that's just you can make it a hot take if you want. I think that's going to be something that's going to really occur, and they're going to have to start to figure out what they're going to do moving forward because they gave him a lot of money.
I knew Jim was going to say that, and Mac is going to agree with Jim. They're thinking of the Russell Wilson of years ago. I think this is a Russell Wilson who still has something left. Don't get me wrong, but he's not the same dynamic quarterback they remember in his prime with Seattle.
No player is the same as they were. No player was the same as they were as the years go by, Jack.
That's true.
Normal. So I
That's
mean,
true.
You can't
So
be
that's-
paying a guy for what he did in the past. You got to pay him in the future.
We paid Tom Brady for what he did in the past.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, when he was up in New England, he kept giving money back so that they could make sure that he could
I
continue.
got
He got
you
paid
guys.
in Tampa Bay for what he did in the past. He won 6 Super Bowls.
Well, Tom Brady was.
But he also won a
runner-up
7th.
MVP last year. He was runner-up for league MVP, so that he wasn't a faded force, really.
Right.
Think of it. It's if you look at the other quarterbacks in that division, Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback in football. You look at Justin Herbert. By this time next year, we might be calling him the best quarterback conceivably.
I don't think
Derek
so.
Carr's basically in his prime. I mean, and Derek Carr's a good, solid NFL quarterback. And having Devontae Adams, that gives him a reason to take the next step.
Yeah, I think that they lost one of their best assets that they had there was their coach. Now, as I look at all the guys that they got rid of as first-round picks and such like that over the last few years, they undid everything that Mike Mayock tried to do. That they're saying, nope. Literally, every pick he made is no longer on the team in the first round. Every first-round pick that he made is no longer on the team. So
you say he's the best, and John Madden, coaches like that.
Who's the best? I didn't say anything about anybody being the best. I'm saying that I thought they lost the best part of their team last year was their coach. Their coach is what led them to the playoffs. I'm not talking the best of all time. I'm talking the best from last year. Last year, the coach is what led them.
Yeah, well, Bisaccia there, they rallied around him. They wanted him to come back. The Raiders moved on. They got Josh McDaniels, who did great work as the coordinator in New England, but was unsuccessful when he was the Bronco coach. So it's an X factor. We have no idea how Josh McDaniels is going to do. How do you guys think a coach like Josh McDaniel does in his second act? Reportedly, they learned a lot from their mistakes, but yeah.
Well, interesting. If you remember Belichick's first act in Cleveland, and what happened, it was awful. It was similar to what Josh happened with McDaniels. And I think he learned from those. Belichick was probably trying to be like Parcells.
Yeah.
And it didn't work because that wasn't his personality. Then Belichick figured, hey, I'm going to be Bill Belichick. Yeah. And maybe Josh McDaniel would do the same thing. And they did make some. If Waller's healthy, you said it, Devontae Adams, and guys like that, they do have some talent. Chandler Jones is there now, and they have Cosby at the other side. They do have some talent.
Are we talking about Big John Tate, the boxer? That's all I want to know.
So I think that
Rich coach
Raiders.
My Jets from the Eagles, that second act didn't work out. 1-15.
No, but that's different. I think this is more mature McDaniels, and he brought people from New England. He would have brought more people from New England if he could. He learned a lot, and I think they're going to be fine. I think they'll be a playoff team. The staff that's in trouble is the Chargers because they have to make the playoffs. They must make the playoffs, so they're going to have a new staff.
See, all they had to do is play for the tie. Just play for the tie.
That's it.
I don't know. They just moved on from Anthony Lynn a year ago. I don't think there's going to be a turnover.
Okay.
They barely missed making the
They're very impatient at the Chargers because they're in a city where the Rams just won a Super Bowl. Remember that.
And all teams have become impatient, right?
Yep.
You used to get the 5-10 years. Now you're lucky to get a year, for God's sake.
Yeah, I think that the division that's in trouble, and they've been good over the last couple of years, but they're not, is the NFC South. I'm telling you, Tampa, the New Orleans, Carolina, and who else is in there? Atlanta.
Atlanta, Tampa, New Orleans, and
Carolina and Atlanta.
Carolina, yeah.
Okay, but so what? Wait, but just backtracking. So what are final predictions? Jim likes the Chiefs to win the AFC West. I do too, actually. I think the Chargers are going to come in second and be a wild card. I think the Raiders third, Broncos fourth.
Wow. Interesting.
I have the Chiefs winning. I also think that see, it's so hard. I actually think that the Chargers come in second. So I got Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. Yeah, I think the Raiders are going to fall apart. I think that, like I said, they have lost some of the best things that they had going for them last year. And because of that, they're going to fall apart here a little bit. And I don't trust anybody from the Belichick tree.
You're all going to think I'm crazy right now. I'm taking Oakland to finish first, followed by KC, San Diego, and Denver.
Well, seeing that Oakland's not even in the league, I have to dismiss.
I'm going with KC as first. I'm going with Las Vegas as second, Denver as third, and LA Chargers taking up fourth.
Well, okay, but who makes the playoffs from that division?
Who makes the play? Kansas City, Oakland, and Denver possibly as a wild card.
Okay, we're a little opposite. I like the Chargers to come in second behind KC and make the playoffs. Okay. So what division do we got next here?
All right, so the last one in the AFC is we kind of
AFC. We only did one. Come on, man. We only went.
No, we did two.
We did the East, we did the South, and we did the West. We got the North left.
You didn't say a word about the Jets all show. I mean,
we're trying to ignore him, Jack. Nobody was here about that.
That gives me. I'm like a player, Jim. I'm like a player. I'm
let's make him happy.
I found out they had the AFC East already, and I wasn't there.
Okay, AFC East. Jets are terrible. Let's go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's how that goes. Bills and everybody's tied for last place.
There you go.
I think that the Dolphins are not going to be very good. I think that it's very strange where as I look at everybody, how everybody's going to play, and I keep saying how the West is not is overrated. It still may wind up with 3 playoff teams because everybody else in the NFC is so bad. The only caveat I say would be from the Central, where you could see 3 teams make it from there in comparison. That Baltimore has a little bit of a resurgence. Pittsburgh has a little bit of a resurgence, where you have 3 teams from there, 2 teams from the West, and just division winners in both the North and the South, or the East and the South.
Yeah. On the AFC East, Jack, honestly, I think Buffalo is good. I don't know if they're Super Bowl good. And, I play for the Bills, but they're very good. I think New England is New England. As long as you have Belichick there, you got a chance. I think Miami is going to shock people. I think you guys are saying they're not going to be very good. I disagree. I think they are, because they can do some things. They were good defensively last year. They got some weapons. Like you said, they haven't been talking about Waddle. But Waddle, we saw what he did as a rookie, and they got the tight end that they didn't trade. I mean, they do have talent, and they'll be competitive. And then with the Jets, I just think without Zach Wilson there, they got some. I mean, would you trust the other quarterback?
Joe Flacco? No, not at all.
Flacco's a wacko.
But an important thing to remember about the Jets, they probably have a lot more depth than people think, because I mentioned this yesterday's show. Of all the NFL teams who got down to their 53-man roster, the players who were cut from the Jets, they had the most pickups from other teams. 7 players were picked up by other teams, more than anyone else. So that tells you a little bit. I think the AFC, there's so much parity. I think 9 and 8 might snatch, a wild card position, and that's what I think's happening. I think Buffalo wins that division going away, like at 13 and 4. I could see the Dolphins at 9 and 8 getting a wild card, and then the Jets and New England each come in at like 7 and 10, which for New England is a mini disaster, but for the Jets, it's progress. I don't trust Zach Wilson there. I don't, something about him. I don't see where he's made any progress on his rookie year. So just because he got hurt during preseason. So where's the improvement coming from so quickly? And Joe Flacco's an old warhorse. So Yeah. So the Jets in New England on the back of the pack. Buffalo wins it easy, and Miami sneaks in as a wild card.
Well, if they keep that quarterback any bit longer, they're going to be called the New York Cougars.
Right.
Joe Flacco is going to be MVP in a couple of years in the USFL.
Oh my goodness!
I was watching something about Joe Flacco where even his kids were telling him that he stinks.
Can I just say, we were talking about the Ravens before. I think in the AFC Central, I like the Ravens to win the division. I think there's such parity there at 10, something like 10-7. I don't like the Bengals. Okay. I think the Steelers are going to come in second and the Bengals third. I think the Bengals are coming in at about 8-9. The Bengals had a magical year last year. Joe Burrow's hurt a lot. I don't want to hear like Jamar Chase, great rookie receiver. You know, he was phenomenal last year. Something about the Bengals. The year before last, Bengals, what were they, like 6-10 or something? I mean, they've had a losing.
They had lost Burrows for quite a while, didn't they?
Right.
Right. They lost him in week 6.
Mm-hmm. You tell me, Jim, about you never experienced quite, but you'd understand it's Super Bowl hangover. You lose a Super Bowl, somehow you usually don't come back strongly the next year. Usually there's a little more of a hangover. Don't tell me about the Bills.
No, you're right. But you're exactly right, because you look at the Rams. It took them 2 years to get back because they lost it and then they came back 2 years later. But there is a hangover when you lose it. So that is true.
Yeah. And Cleveland Browns, I just don't like the chemistry, everything going over there. It seems like an ugly situation happening. And so I don't think they're going to be a factor at all. But my feeling is Mike Tomlin is somehow going to squeeze out a 9-8 record with the Steelers. They won't make the playoffs. I think they might get edged out maybe in tiebreakers. I'm just
does it really matter though? Does it really matter how light the schedule is though? I mean, football team is a football team.
Oh yeah, but hold on. I disagree with that. I think the travel schedule does come into play a little bit, and it would give them. I think it'll give them a win. I don't say that it's going to give them more than a win, but having a light schedule, they don't travel across the Mississippi all season long.
Wow.
So, and they're in the middle of the country when it comes to going out. So the furthest that they're traveling is maybe 800 miles, maybe. Damn. And that's there's something to be said for that. You know, and Jim could probably talk to that a lot more. When you have to travel from coast to coast, and Jim being in Dallas, it's like he's always got to go somewhere. So it's 1,500 miles to Philadelphia. It's 1,200 miles to D.C. It's 1,600 miles to go to New York. Then you would have to go to Seattle, and that's 2,000 miles. And then you go to San Francisco.
You bring up Seattle. Seattle doesn't have a problem coming to the East Coast like the other teams do coming to the West Coast.
Yeah, but they go earlier, if you remember that. They always go earlier when they play East Coast teams.
Yeah, and when they do have to do travel, it affects them. It affects them. Seattle going to Miami, it always seems to have a Miami win that game. And that has to do with the fact that it's the longest travel that either one of that any NFL team has got to make. If you're in Miami, going to Seattle is the longest that anybody's ever got to travel in the NFL. That's the furthest distance. Yeah. Everything else, like you could almost say the same thing with LA or what it would have been San Diego going to New England, because that's on the opposite corner. But you know, literally when you have to travel that much, it starts to affect you.
Yes. And then you were talking about the farthest Pittsburgh travels is to Miami.
Right.
At Miami.
And that's only 1,000. And I tell you, and that'll be a home game for Pittsburgh. Without a doubt. There will be 30,000 fans.
Jim, a lot of the game is mental. And don't players think a little bit, even in Pittsburgh, well, we're going to Miami for a couple of days. That's kind of cool, getting out of this cold in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but there's other factors on that, Jack, is the heat. Like, say you play in a place like humidity, heat, and humidity make a difference. And then Pickles asked, if you're going and for teams that have to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, that's 3-hour time difference. So if you're playing the 12 o'clock games, think about that.
Jim, I told you the story when I went to a September game in Tampa Bay.
Yes.
I couldn't take it as a spectator. I could just imagine the players. I had to go into an air-conditioned unit room and watch.
But Jack, we got to rigor. You're not that tough, you know. So
no, yeah,
well, and I tell you, the first time the Philly sports guy ever got shown on television, I wasn't known as the Philly sports guy back then, but I went down to Tampa, and it's day that they had it all season long, and it was in September, obviously, that it was 105. It was 105 in the stands. It was 120 on the field. And, of course, that was also the same day that that we came back to take the lead, and then the kicker kicked a 63-yard field goal to win the game for them. And I remember watching that kick happen. But they showed me on TV, and they said, look at the Eagles fans melting in the sun, because they were showing like the green sweat coming off of my chin, because it was that much. There was that much sweat going on because it was really that hot.
Guys, I just want to, the AFC South, we're talking Robert Butler. I do like Indianapolis to win that division. They're one of the few NFL teams that seems to have a solid offensive line, and to have Jonathan Taylor running behind that, a veteran like Matt Ryan. I know you might wonder how much he has left, but it's an upgrade from Carson Wentz. I think the other players are going to take the Matt Ryan a little bit better. I agree with Jim about Mike Vrabel being one of the outstanding coaches in the league. He'll find a way to get Tennessee there as a wild card, maybe around 10-7. And of course, there's Houston and Jacksonville. Houston, I think, is just trying to survive the Deshaun Watson saga, that they hope it doesn't come back to hit them. You know, I don't see them going anywhere at all. They'll win a few games, and that's about it. In Jacksonville, how much improvement? Are we blinded by the last game when they upset Indianapolis? We're putting too much emphasis on that.
But they beat the Giants, and they beat Tennessee too, correct?
Well, we're talking about, Jacksonville was, what were they last year? They were 3-14 or thereabouts.
And they swept the Colts last year.
Yes.
So I think, something like that. But so real quickly, let's just go over this, because I got to make sure that our producer got all of our picks. So for the East, who does everybody have to win? Everybody have the Bills?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so we're just going to pick the winners of the division here real quick instead of the whole thing. For the South, who do we have there in the AFC?
I got Indianapolis.
I have Tennessee.
Me too.
And I have Tennessee as well. So we have one Indianapolis. Jack has got Indianapolis. Everybody else has got Tennessee. In the North, who do you guys have?
Go ahead, Jack.
Are we talking? I'll have the Ravens.
Ravens winning the division.
Yeah.
I'll say Cleveland. I'll say Cleveland.
Wow.
I say Baltimore.
I got Cincinnati.
Well, there you go.
So, wow, we got each one of us. All four of them are chosen for that one. That's an interesting one. Of course, I'll be the one that's right. And then last and certainly not least, the AFC West.
The Chiefs.
I'll take Oakland.
I'm going to take the Chiefs.
I also have the Chiefs. So there we go. That's all of the AFC. All the Jets talk that you could have was all right there. End of story on the AFC. We only got a half hour left, so we got to fill in the whole NFC. We spent all this time talking about the AFC. The NFC is the much better side of the schedule anyways. They get the whole better NFL is in the NFC. The AFC kind of stinks out loud. So let's go right to the NFC. Let's talk about – we got to end with the East. So let's start with the NFC West. You know, obviously there's two good teams, maybe three good teams in that division and one stinker. But everybody's got an opinion. And, you know, I find it very interesting that nobody's talking about Arizona, and especially because they had the collapse last year going from 11-1 to a first round exit. What are your thoughts about this division in general?
I'd have to go with 49ers first, right? They got probably the best defense and a heck of a running offense. So I'm going to go with the 49ers.
I mean, we hear about the 49er personnel that's supposed to be as good as any in the NFL. And I do think the 49ers win the division despite the quarterback uncertainty. And I like what the Rams did, getting Bobby Wagner. But something about when you've won a Super Bowl already, there's a little bit of a letdown the next year. Even when Jim's Cowboys repeated, you guys didn't play that well. A good part of, the following year, you were struggling a bit until you got it together.
Yeah, you bunch of slackers.
You remember you were lucky to win the division against the Giants in that game at the Meadowlands.
Oh, my goodness.
Matt remembers that game, Phil Simms.
Yes,
but the Giants could easily won that game.
That's because Emmett hurt his
shoulder.
That's
what I'm trying to say.
He had to pop it back in. But we won
whatever.
Right?
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares about the Cowboys except you, Jim. So
that's right.
I like the 49ers to edge out the Rams in that division. I don't think either going to have a great record. I think I shouldn't say that. 49ers will go about 12-5. I think the Rams get in as a wild card about 10-7. Arizona might get in as a wild card too. I think 9-8 in both conferences, AFC, NFC, can nab a wild card. I could see Arizona at 9-8 nabbing a wild card. I think there's such parity, and Seattle will be a distant last.
Wow. I think Arizona's Kyler Murray's going to start studying. He's going to study. He's going to get in the get in the facility about 6:30.
As long as the Rams all-star, all-pro defensive tackle doesn't run at him, he just falls down.
Yeah. He's going to have somebody come and kick Aaron Donalds in the ankle or something. But no, the 49ers are still the class of the division.
I agree.
There's no question about it. I worry about Trey Lance. I watched all their preseason games, and he's got a weird throwing motion. He's got a weird throw.
I mean, how big of a mistake was that, giving up all those draft choices and getting a guy that they still don't know can play quarterback?
Yeah, the question. I think them re-signing Jimmy G will help them, because that if Trey Lance does struggle, then they can do that, and then they can pick, like you said, it's going to be a quarterback-rich draft next year, and they can get somebody in that quarterback. But I still think they're the best team in there because of offensively and defensively. I think the Cardinals they play Kansas City on the first game, but I still think they got a lot of talent. I think Murray in that scheme, if we remember they went to Tennessee the first game and got after Tennessee. Yeah. They struggle in the second half of the season. The first half of the season, they're pretty darn good. So I think that's what's going to happen this year, and that's always been that type of offense. I've known Cliff for many years, and that offense has always struggled as the season progresses. I think they'll be good in the Rams. I think they're going to be the Rams. I mean, you still got some of the best. You got Stafford is getting healthy. You still got receivers with Culp, and you still got Aaron Donald on defense. They're going to play hard.
Guys, Trey Lance, I think too much is being made of the Jimmy Garoppolo thing. They couldn't trade Jimmy Garoppolo. No one else is going to quite pick up the contract. So they're living with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're paying him well, but they know he's a great insurance policy. But Trey Lance is their starter.
Yes, we know that.
Job to lose. Trey Lance is going to have to play poorly to lose that starting job. Mm-hmm. As long as the Niners are winning, if they win a bunch of games 14-10, he's going to stay as the starter as long as they feel he's developing. I think everything done with the 49ers also, they're going to be looking towards the playoffs as the season goes along. Who gives us a better chance to win in the playoffs?
Well, I think a lot differently than you guys. I actually believe that the Cardinals are going to be the ones that win that. And I think that the 49ers could get back in on a wild card, but that's going to be tough. I think that they're going to have struggles with Trey Lance as quarterback. I think that at the end of this season, you may find that Jimmy G is back at the starting position. And I feel like that's what's going to wind up occurring in all of this, is that Trey Lance is going to not play very well, because ultimately, I know it's his second year in the second year, but he didn't show anything last year that made me think that he was going to be a great quarterback. And I haven't seen anything in the preseason that really has said, okay, I mean, he's got some arm strength and he's got some zip on the ball, but he does throw the ball a little funny. I think that the 49ers have a great defense. I think that their whole offense runs through Deebo Samuel. And if Deebo Samuel is targeted in terms of being able to stop him, that they don't have the other weapons on offense, short of their tight end, that is able to really pick up all that slack. And I think that because of that, the defense is going to have to win games. And I don't think that they're going to do as greatly as everybody thinks they are. I have the Cardinals winning this division. I have the Rams coming in second. And then I have the 49ers in third with Seattle in last.
But here's the thing you got to remember about 49ers. And you're right, Deebo Sanders is the focus point, but they still have Brandon Ayuk, who's still getting Kittle. They have the running game. That's what scares you. Yeah. Because they're really got a really good running
right, but
game.
But that running game runs through Deebo Samuel.
Not really. Their back was injured. He's healthy. They got rid of Raheem Mostert, but they still have a powerful running game. And that's what's disruptive about them. And their defense is best. They are really good.
And is there anybody better at designing running plays than their head coach?
That's my point.
Well, you could arguably say that the Eagles coach is arguably better, because right now we had the best running game last year.
The Eagles are not even going to win
running game. We had the best running game last year, did we not?
Here we go. Against guys that can't win. The Eagles are
not my fault. Not my fault. We can only beat who we can play against.
And they're going to be like the Cardinals last year. I promise you. The Eagles will be like the Cardinals last year. And you heard it.
All right. Yep. Let's. We got that down. We got it marked down. We already know. Jim. Without Jimmy Johnson, you weren't anything, because the moment you went to Buffalo, everything trailed off.
Here we go. Everything is Eagles.
It's not all Eagles. I obviously picked the Cardinals to win that division. The Eagles can't win the West.
Jim, I meant to ask you this question. I mentioned it on the other show. It popped into my head. Who was more effective at rattling players, Spike Lee or Pags? Who would you say?
Wow.
Well, but he couldn't never get Reggie Miller. But
yeah. I was going to say Pags. Easy, but I'm overruled.
I'm good. And all Spike Lee gets to do it from the first row, because he's got all that money. I got to do it from up top, and they still hear me as if I was down the front row. Goodness. So I'm the loudest fan in the NFL. You've got him right here on this show. So that's a true statement. I'll put that up against anybody.
My goodness.
Let's go to quite possibly. It seems like both South divisions, both the AFC and the NFC, could, be the worst divisions in football. The NFC South, where, I think they're going to be trying to figure out who's going to win this. I personally, I'll start this one off. I think Tampa wins it because they are the best of a bad bunch, not because there's going to be any really competition. I think that Carolina is still going to be trying to figure out that ultimately I feel that he's going to wind up getting fired. And I'm a big fan of the coach over there, but it's going to take a second stint somewhere else, because I feel that he's got some coaching prowess. It's just not the right fit in Carolina, and he's losing that. He's going to lose that battle this year. I think that Tampa Bay wins. I think that Carolina comes in second, but it's a distant second. That's Atlanta and who's the other team that's in that division? The Saints. The Saints could actually have a halfway decent defense, but I think their offense is going to struggle some. So I actually would have it right now that I think about it: Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Carolina, and then whoever that fourth team is.
I feel for Todd Bowles at Tampa Bay. This is his second go around as a head coach. and he has the potential of being a really good head coach. But he inherited the situation with the Jets, which he did so. And he's really inheriting a poor situation here. Tampa Bay's offensive line is decimated, basically. I shouldn't, maybe not decimated, but a lot of injuries and there are problems there. Tom Brady, 45. He's got to decline at some point. You give him a strong offensive line. I know he could keep playing a while longer, but I just don't like the situation in Tampa Bay. They're transitioning from Super Bowl champ a couple of years ago to just another halfway decent team. So I actually like the Carolina Panthers to take a big leap up and win that division. They'll win it at about with a 10-7 record. They have a really good defense. McCaffrey has to be, healthy. Players like Robbie Anderson could flourish a wide receiver. So I like them on an upset Carolina to win the division.
And as me and Jim have
9 and 8. New Orleans is long in the tooth. I don't want to hear about them contending. And Atlanta's Atlanta. They're probably going to finish, last. If not last, them and the Saints are going to be battling it out for third and fourth.
Well, the Saints beat the Buccaneers twice last year.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they always beat the Buccaneers except when it counts.
Right.
When they played in the playoffs, it didn't happen a couple of years ago.
And as me and Jim said about McCaffrey, he should be running outside the tackles, not inside the tackles. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing for him to try to make him do.
So what you're saying is Baker Mayfield is going to make a huge difference to that team.
He will. I think Baker's going to have a good year. If McCaffrey's healthy, they've surrounded him with weapons. I really like their defense, the Panthers. That's the thing about it. It's easy to forget. Last year, the Panthers started 3-0 and had one of the best defenses in the league. And then for whatever reason, the darn wheels fell off. Matt Rule knows it's his last year if they foul up. The Panther owner doesn't have much patience, how they're doing. I just feel some teams that kind of have a feeling are going to put it together. Cincinnati put it together last year, even though the Panthers won't go as far. I get that feeling that this is really their year, and they're going to set the pattern in week 1, I think, and actually beat Cleveland decisively.
Actually, make very good sense.
Well, surprise. Me and Jack are on the same page here. Carolina, then New Orleans, then Tampa, and then Atlanta.
Interesting.
There you go. There we go. Which leaves us to the NFC North.
Wait. Who do we all pick to win that division? Mac and myself, Carolina. Jim, who do you pick to win that division?
Well, Dennis Allen is on his second stint too, and they do have issues with quarterbacks, but I think that they're going to eke this out. I think Dennis Allen and the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to go with New Orleans.
And I have Tampa. So we have 2 Carolinas, 1 New Orleans, and 1 Tampa Bay.
Quick question. If Tampa Bay is struggling and they're having a losing record, does Tom Brady last the season out? Does he call it quits during the season?
No. He lasts it.
I think he quits.
You think so?
I don't think so. No, I do not think he quits.
Okay.
I don't think he quits. I think he'll finish the season.
Yeah, he's.
The guy
he's in for the penny, in for a pound. I think that he would never go out midway through a season. I think that he would stick. He would stick through it.
What would that do to his career, right, guys? It would be terrible.
He's probably one of the greatest of all time. I wouldn't think he'd do that.
Right, exactly. So with 15 minutes left, we almost got to go hot on the NFC North because we still have to do the NFC East where we have the most to talk about. So NFC North, obviously, at the Vikings, the Packers, the Bears, and the Lions. What are your thoughts?
No one can bet against Aaron Rodgers. Packers clearly win that division. Lions take a big leap up. I think they finish second, maybe go 9-8. They lost so many close games last year that they're going to win this year. Vikings are an enigma. I have no clue what they might do. I mean, they might be a Super Bowl contender and they might be very mediocre, but I can't trust them, even though I know Jim's high on Kirk Cousins at QB. And the Bears are going to be awful. They're going to be terrible. I feel for Justin Fields because it's like the young man's not being given a chance to develop as an NFL quarterback with that franchise. So we don't know what Justin Fields could be or what he is, with the Bears. They're a mess.
All right, guys. I'm going Detroit number 1 too. I'm going to be going.
I like Packers to win the division.
Oh well, I'm picking Detroit to win the division, and then I'm going to go Minnesota, Green Bay, and then
wow.
Wow.
I'm going to go with Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago.
So I agree with Green Bay. I also think Detroit's going to come up. I don't know that they're going to be able to overtake Minnesota, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, that they could both be like 8 and 9. I just don't trust Kirk Cousins. As has been mentioned on this show before, he is a coach killer, and he's going to kill this coach this year because they have a lot higher. He's got a lot more weapons. He's got Thielen. He's got Jefferson. He's now got Rager as his number 3 wide receiver. Yeah, they have a very good tight end up there. So he's got the stuff, and then the defense has got to be able to perform as well. But I think, what do they have? Four primetime games, and that means that they've lost 4 games already in the season. So I have to go Pack here. However, I do believe that Detroit could take the 2nd spot. I don't know that they're a playoff team, but they may get close. And then Vikings, Chicago. So, which leaves us to the NFC East.
Right.
And let's have the one guy who doesn't have any skin in the game talk first, Jack.
Listen, the only thing I know.
Okay, now we go on to the next guy.
I mean, the only thing I'm confident about, it's a 2-team race. I mean, here, logically speaking, does anyone see the Giants making a serious run at actually winning the division? Okay, Mac does. How do you like that? 1 year ago, a lot of people were picking Washington to win the division, but we're 1 year later. Can anyone see, Washington winning the division? I can't see it. I was a little mystified for someone like Jerry Jones, who has the urgency to win. A guy's getting older, and it's reportedly means so much to him, to win another Super Bowl. There was an absence of off-season moves. I mean, he was basically standing pat for the most part. The Eagles weren't. The Eagles were active. The Eagles were ready to take the next step. I just think it's coming down to the wire. Do I trust Dak Prescott more than I do Jalen Hurts? Yes. But you look at the rest of the team, especially on offense there. I like the Eagle personnel a little better. I know what they got. I know it's CD Lamb. Does he really compare? I mean, the Eagles have 2 receivers better than CD Lamb, their main target. Okay? And Ezekiel Elliott, do I fully trust him to get back to what he once was? No, not at all. And with Pollard there, Pollard is good and solid. I think on a squeaker, it comes down to the end. Both teams make the playoffs, but the Eagles win the division.
Well, sounds reasonable, Jack.
All right, let's go to the Giants fan.
Yeah, of course, we all know the Giants are going to finish in first place. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they got the best quarterback in the division, the best running back in the division, and easily.
Would that be Tyrod Taylor? Tyrod Taylor's hurt right now, so
yes,
he might be right, Mac. Don't laugh at him. If Saquon Barkley's back healthy, Mac might be making sense. Don't laugh at Mac.
I'm not laughing at anybody. You guys have, that's the good thing about America. You have the right to make your choice. You can choose it your way.
Right. The Burger King. So Eagles, okay, Pags, I'll give it to you. The Eagles finishing second. I was going to put them in last. Eagles, then I can't go Dallas there. I got to make it last. So Washington, and then the Cowboys.
Cowboys in last place, Mac. I love it.
Yes.
That's fiction. Cowboys in last.
No, you
All right.
have the
All
right
right.
to your opinion.
Might as well let age before beauty. So, Jim, you're next.
Here's my
We're
opinion on
watching
the
you in
division.
Dallas, Jim. Before you
Yes, they
speak,
are.
this is
The NFC, it'll be Dallas, but the NFC East has gotten better. They've gotten better coaching, obviously. And now it comes down to the most talented team in the NFC East is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Agreed.
Right now, they have the best offensive line. They have the best defensive line. And now their secondary is improved with the things that they've done. But I think, and then here's what I'm saying. Before the Eagles and the Cowboys play, the Cowboys will have a losing record, most likely. They'll be 2-3, and the Eagles should be 5-1. But I think what's going to happen is the second half of the season, because of the schedules, the Cowboys will get better as long as they don't get a lot of penalties. I think the Cowboys are a better coach team than Sirianni. Wow. This is Sirianni's second year. Wow. I think they're a better coach team.
Wow.
If they stay away from the penalties. That is the biggest problem.
Jim, have you been watching their preseason games? The Cowboys have been constantly penalized. They've been coached very poorly. And you're saying they're better coached team?
The biggest issue they have is the left tackle in Tyler Smith. Starting a rookie at left tackle is hard. Any position, but left tackle. And I wasn't a big Tyron Smith fan anyway. I thought he was over the hill. You talk about Jason Peters. I think that Tyron Smith was way over the hill. I'm going to still pick. I think it's going to be Cowboys will be 11-6. Either they'll be both 11-6. It's going to come down to the game on Christmas when the Eagles and the Cowboys play. Because and that's my opinion on it. Who wins that game is going to win the division because they both have the Cowboys have the Cincinnati, they have Tampa Bay, and they have Rams in the first 4 or 5 games, and that's tough. So they're going to be in a situation where they could have a losing record going into Philadelphia.
Before my birthday.
Wow,
it happened literally right before my birthday.
They're playing Christmas Day. Christmas Day.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Day. Guys, I got tickets. I'm seeing the Dolphins play the Packers.
Oh,
yeah, you're one of the 3 games that there's only 3 games playing on Christmas Day. So
yeah, and I can't take away from the Eagles' talent. They do have talent, but they've always been. Hey, shoot, they were talented when we beat them in '91 and got into the playoffs. I mean, they sacked us 11 times in the first game in Dallas. But the second game is what we won in Philly.
I call the Red Sox the lunch pail team of MLB. The Eagles are definitely the lunch pail team of the NFL.
I would agree with that. I of course have to disagree with what you're thinking about a little bit. I think that this team is better coached than McCarthy over there. I think that I would love for McCarthy to forever be the coach of the Cowboys because I think that he is good in certain circumstances, but he's not very good as a coach in general. And I hope that he remains the coach forever because they won't ever win anything with him. Him at the helm.
He did win a Super Bowl, right?
I understand that. You can bring he's got a ring, which is great. But I think Holmgren won that ring more than he did. That being said, that's fine. That's fine. You can think whatever you want. I have the Eagles going 11-6 with an upside of possibly 30. Bounces right. I don't think that everything bounces right like that. I have a hard time finding losses on our schedule. And that means I think that there's going to be a couple of losses that don't make any sense. Like I think that the Eagles, that game against Chicago on the 18th of December is going to be a loss, mostly because they're going to be looking forward to Dallas the next week. So I think that there's going to be a couple of games like that where they may think that they're going to win and not win because of that. But I got them winning the division here. I think that Dallas will come in second place. However, I do not think this is one of these years where I do not believe that 9-8 is going to make the playoffs here in the East. You're going to need 10 wins to get in the playoffs this year. I think because the AFC is so bad. that those games are going to come in handy here, that you have to beat your AFC counterparts this year, that this is where it's going to be most imperative. Because I think that if you do parity throughout the NFC in general, that the best teams are going to play each other and they're going to wind up having to beat up each other a little bit, and that the worst teams are not going to win that many games, that you're going to need to win the games against the AFC. And I think that's where it's going to help us the most. I feel that we will either go 3-1 or 4-0 against the AFC, and I think that that's going to be the difference, where Dallas could maybe only go 2-2 against the AFC, or 5, actually, because there's 5 games against the AFC now. They could wind up going 2-3 or 1-4 against the AFC, and that's going to be the difference. I think that Christmas game is not going to matter who wins that game, because I think the Eagles are already going to have it cemented up. And like I said, they're going to win this division. Dallas in second. I got the Giants in third and Washington in fourth. I think that this is the swan song for Rivera.
We've got to come up with our Super Bowl predictions. Okay, who's going to go? I mean, I'll start it off. I mean, out of the NFC, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to wind up going. Aaron Rodgers will have it figured out with his receivers. What's lost is the Packers have a pretty good defense. That'll carry him away by the end of the year. The Master's going to have it all figured out. But I think they come short in the Super Bowl. This is Buffalo's year. They finally break through. The Bills over the Packers in the Super Bowl. But if the Bills don't win it this year, I don't want to hear about next year. This is it for the Bills. They've been on the verge. This has to be their breakthrough year this year. I believe they do it. And Josh Allen's going to be elite. And he beats Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl.
So I have the Giants and the Jets in the Super Bowl.
I'll take that. I'll take a loss for the Giants in the Super Bowl. I'll sign up for loss right now.
All right, and so that's going to be a Subway Super Bowl, as they say.
Wow.
So the Giants Jets Super Bowl this year, guys. Can't wait.
I have the team that wins the NFC Championship. They'll be in there, and the team that wins the AFC Championship, they'll be in there.
Yeah.
There you go. And the one who scores the most points in that game between those two winners will win the game.
Jim, let me make Jim's pick to him. Jim likes Dallas over Buffalo in the Super Bowl, and Buffalo over Dallas. Either way, Jim will.
I really do like Buffalo, but that's going to be, I mean, they got a lot of pressure on them. Everybody's making everything, and normally that doesn't happen. I think you could get a surprise team, and I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if it's a team from the AFC West. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Kansas City as a possibility, because they're playing good football. They'll be playing good teams, or even Las Vegas. I like them. And then on the east side, that is the toughest one, because just like Pags was saying, there's a lot of parity within there. It could be multiple teams. Right now, I think San Francisco is probably the best team in the NFC, but there are other teams that challenge the Rams, the Eagles, the Cowboys. They could all challenge them, but I think it's going to come down to San Francisco and Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, okay, very
good. And I actually have it so that it's going to look like it's the old coach versus the new team, the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Actually, and the truth of the matter is, I only see the NFC Championship game. I really can't get beyond that. I think that if it's the 49ers and the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, it's going to be tough. I think the Bills can't get over their heads, and they're not going to win the game against in the AFC Championship game. So I think it's going to be the Chiefs that will continue moving forward. But
just make a darn prediction.
That's what I got. I have the Chiefs and the Eagles, and if that's the case, the Eagles win.
You're taking forever.
Chiefs and Eagles. Hey, listen, you guys talked for 20 minutes. We got to get off the show now because it's already over 2 hours. We can't even replay the show now because you guys kept bapping all this time. Now I can't replay the show because we're over 2 hours. I got the Eagles. I got the Eagles going to the NFC Championship game. I thought it was going to be against Tampa. I don't believe Tampa is good enough anymore. I think that the Eagles will get to the NFC Championship. I think if they go beat the Rams. If we go against the 49ers, it's going to be a much tougher game. I think it's going to be the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I think that the Chiefs beat the Bills again, and they wind up going to the Super Bowl. And if it's the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I got the Eagles winning. If it's the Chiefs and the 49ers in the Super Bowl, I got the Chiefs winning.
Good.
That's how I got that looking. But now we're over 2 hours, so now I got to figure out a different way of getting this on the show again to be able to do the replay and rebroadcast of this because you guys were taking so long and getting me all fired up, as he likes to do here moving forward. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on This Week in Football, and we will see you next week with where we're going to be able to start talking about actual football games and not just what we think is going to happen. It's going to be what really happens, and you're going to find out that I'm right and these guys are wrong across the board. So,
Of course.
Everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.